Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Forsaken Council Live. This is Season 2, Episode 15, and tonight is our pre-raid rumble. Plus, we have, thank you, Mark, we have two special guests in the form of GDR and GDA. So, welcome, guys. We've met you, GDA, several times. We all love you, as you know. But GDA, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself, maybe, and say what you do at Kixeye?
Sure. I'm GDR Specs, and don't bother looking up the name. It's some Roman thing. And I am one of the designers on this project. I lead up a lot of the scheduling and sequencing and all the stuff that you guys are going to yell at me in this podcast. Probably was something that originated over on my side. And then I work with Reagan on the game balance and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So we can basically blame you for everything, is what you're saying.
Okay. Pretty much.
Well, we've got a full house tonight, guys. So bear with us. We'll do our best to not talk over each other, but we've got a rowdy bunch, especially with that Stu in there. Mark is going to run us through the slides. So let me run over to the wonderful Mark.
Yeah, good evening, everybody, and welcome, as we said. So let me just get it up. Should be screen sharing now. So there we go. As we can see, it's TFC Season 2, Episode 15. So, and our special guests, there you go, GDR and GDA. So what's in tonight's show? Well, here we go then. So that's the slide pack contents. There are quite a few slides tonight. Some of them you may have seen before, so we'll skip across them because some of them are real common things. But the ones that aren't, we'll stop on pause and we'll digest them a little bit more and maybe pull out some teasers from the two GDs that we've got on the show as well. But I think first and foremost, so that's the content. You've got it roughly there. I think the first thing we'll do then is we'll expand and let the guests have their little moment, shall we? Is that a good idea?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so there we go. Here's the slide.
Work in progress and all that jazz.
All that jazz. So one of the things that should I launch into the content release stuff now?
Well, as we kind of discussed in the pre-show, I think the biggest topic right now in the game, the one thing that seems to be coming up everywhere and players are blowing their heads off about is content. We've had a lot of holes. We're not that far into the year, and I think people feel a little bit overwhelmed. So maybe you can douse some of those flames a little.
Well, I don't know if I can douse them, but I can at least explain what our thinking is. So last year we took the leap of separating out the Conqueror Defender line from all the other lines of ship hulls and creating two very distinct tracks, one of PvP and one of PvE. Now, the thing about PvE is PvE should be laid out like a train track. It's what we all know and love, right? It's the stuff where we say, okay, here's an event, and here's some holes that would allow you to excel at that event and keep those holes around because for the entire year, there's a bucket of content out there that you can use those holes on. PvP is different. So with PvE, we're trying to create a puzzle for you basically to solve, and then you go solve it, and we're all happy. With PvP, that's not us, right? We just set the rules, and then we expect you guys to get in there and fight. And so in order to do that, we need to release enough holes and enough variety so that way you have something to fight with. And so our plan at the beginning of the year was we're going to release over the year a total of a bunch of PvP holes. And as we started to look at the plan more and more, we realized that what that was going to create was a bunch of flavor of the month builds. And we saw that with the first Pride builds, where it was, because Pride was the only thing, people built everything around the Pride. People built their base defenses around defeating the Pride. And that's not exactly the kind of PvP environment that's very healthy. What's healthier is if everyone has a pretty full toolbox of various hulls and turrets and such to defend against. And then that way, when you're defending yourself, you can't say, well, I know that an oppressor is coming around the corner. You can know that there's an oppressor, a liberator, a pride, a gluttony, sloth coming up. And that was always the goal. The goal was to say, here's a bunch of tier 6 items that you guys can play with. Now, we heard you guys very clearly on the actual cadence of that release. And so we did slow it down quite a bit, and we're slowing it down even more. So the original plan was quite a bit more aggressive, and we were going to end up with a lot of these holes out by the middle of the year. But we've slowed it way down. You'll still be seeing holes dripping and dropping out, and they kind of break into two basic lines. There's the 7 Deadly Sins line, which is the Pride and the Gluttony and the Sloth and the other ones that are coming, Rage and Lust and all those. Each of those contains a unique game mechanic that isn't present anywhere else in our game. And, Bloodthirst was introduced that way, and we really like that. So we're going to use this as a test bed for seeing how you guys like Gluttony's ability to heal, Pride's ability to fight alone, Sloth's ability to avoid damage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Alongside that, we realized these are really skillful holes, even more than our so-called skill and auto lines in PvE. These require a lot of know-how to be able to use it properly, and if you don't know how to use a Pride properly and stack them, you're just going to have a bad time. So what we went with alongside that is what I call the auto PvP line, which is these rivals, and that's the Liberator, the Oppressor. You're going to be seeing the Survivor coming pretty soon, and then there's a couple more. And those are intended to be good at what the faction's good at. You know what the faction's good at if you don't, get to Outpost 9 and look at the little thing at the top. And each faction is good at something. We built the holes with that in mind. And then we put as a sweetener this idea that when we first released the Liberator, it was pretty good, but it wasn't as good as it could be. And we planned out all 5 of those holes to work with one another in the Rivals line. And once we release the 5th hull, if you've got a fleet of one of each of those, they're going to be really ridiculously powerful in each of their specialties. And so the choice we're trying to present with this large amount of PvP content is, here's a bunch of cool, unique game mechanics, and here's a bunch of very straightforward Rivals line hulls that grow in strength throughout the year. And we're going to pretty much leave that be. So our Tier 7 plan, quote unquote, I'm way too early to reveal it, but it's going to not involve a ton of holes. I think we've done a good job of giving you guys the right skills and skill holes and auto holes for a good, healthy PvP environment, or at least by quarter 4. And then we're going to just let you guys knock about with those and hopefully give us money along the way. So that's the kind of the reasoning behind it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, PvP is kind of more like PvE is I feel mandatory. If you want to progress in the game, then you have to do the PvE to collect what you need. Whereas the PvP side is more optional. It's more like if you want to hit bases, you can, but you're not really going to be losing out if you don't. So I don't know. I guess there's always been a division in the community. There's players that prefer PvE and there's players that prefer PvP. But I guess like me, myself, I was a player that always preferred PvP, especially in the first few years of the game. But now I kind of feel that I'm working so hard to keep myself in up to speed with PvE that I really don't have much time to spend on PvP, if any. Like, I build the fleets, but I rarely get to use them. I find I'm doing that much stuff on the other side of the game to keep myself moving forward that I don't have enough free time elsewhere to even divulge in PvP. Like, I don't even have a chance to look at my mega ship, and I don't know if I'm speaking for myself, or, I mean, is there anyone else in the panel that feels similar to that?
I agree with that. I agree with pretty much what you just said. I mean, I have I'm pretty much caught up with my PvE building stuff. I've got my icebreakers sorted and done. I built one monolith because because tokens are awesome. Yay. I built a bunch of my PvP stuff with the free tokens as well, because tokens are awesome. Yay. Mm-hmm. But I haven't really had much chance to try any of it out. I've been busy with other stuff, and when I do log into the game, I've done this chore, that chore, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go play something else. So it's quite hard.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like there's like a scale of the amount of time you need to invest in one side and the amount of time you are available to invest in the other side. And it would be nice if I could spend less time doing PvE so I could enjoy PvP more. I don't know. I mean, is there any, is that something that anyone's ever looked at, or is it like a thing, or?
Yeah. So sorry, we had to decide what we wanted to tell you. So we've got some changes coming to PvP coming pretty soon. It's a little bit premature to do it, but I would love to come back on the show when we're doing that. And it's directly to address that. And that the idea is, if there's 3 parts to your Battle Pirates experience, which is seat time, repair costs, and fighting over what's going to take the queue, we looked at all 3 of those for PvP, and we're going to make some changes throughout the year that's going to kind of alleviate all those for PvP. The game was built to be a PvP game. It kind of evolved into this really cool event style game. And and so I think we've got a pretty good sense of how to do events with you guys, and you definitely let us know whenever we make a mistake. And so the next logical step for the health of this game is to see what we can do with PvP to get it a little bit more vitalized. But what we don't want to do is then have that come with a ton of costs and stuff. So that's the work we're doing. I can't really reveal a ton about it right now, but it's pretty exciting, and it involves quite a bit of our staff to pull off.
Sounds great. Well, it's certainly, I'm certainly glad it's something. Does anyone else want to chime in? I know I'm asking all the questions. Does anyone else have anything they wanted to ask regarding that? Or
yeah, I've just got one point quickly, if you wouldn't mind. It's something that's been brought up a couple of times. With obviously the rollout of all the PvP stuff, which is great, because I'm up to speed with most of it, to be honest. But what I am noticing that I'm having to recycle hulls because I'm running out of space, and I'm actually recycling hulls that, you know, I actually purchased myself in less than 6 months ago, and they're still valid, but there's no room to build the new stuff.
Corner. Excuse me. Sorry.
Hey, someone's got to eat.
Yeah, we've looked at both storage and dock space, and dock space probably isn't going to change anytime soon. Storage space, we have to, engineering actually has some pretty good points about why we haven't moved forward with that, but it's on the to-do list. I think the longer this game runs, the more we have to let you store, because otherwise, what's the point of having a storage at all?
My concern is, at the moment, I mean, there's something that just came up in the game recently and that sort of stuff, and I could have done with the whole, but I had to get rid of it to make way for the latest one, that sort of stuff. And I was really sort of like picky on to what to get rid of, and then I ended up getting rid of the wrong thing and that sort of stuff. You know, once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
And there's several people that are at the top of the top few percent that are in that position. You know.
Mm-hmm.
It's 120 in this stage. You think about how many different Conqueror holes and that sort of stuff we're building in Defenders. Mm-hmm. You know, you're talking 60, 70 just on the modern stuff in the last 4 months.
Yeah, do you know, on top of what you're saying there, Mark, I was going to add to that as well, that I find now that I actually generally need that many fleets. Like, you know what you can display? Is it 20 fleets now? Is it 20 or is it less? I can't even remember. But I actually find that, like, I'm sick of removing ships and then shuffling through to find ships to add into that slot. Like, I would actually like to see more slots. I know that's probably sounds like it's something we don't need, but me personally, I'm using that many fleets now that I would generally like to have more fleets there without having to shuffle through them all. You know?
I mean, the only thing I was asking if it could possibly be done, and I don't know because I was speak to the engineers about that, was basically just to have 2 tabs like we normally do, just have a Conqueror hull tab with its 10 fleet slots in it, and then obviously a PvE fleet. You can't confuse what's in what as well, because, you know, we know from this point forward Conquerors can't do PvE stuff. But if there's just like 2 tabs in your dock, and you can just open up those 120 slots for your PvE and 120 slots for your Conqueror, that would set the game for another 6 to 9 months, if not 12 months. I don't know how easy the mechanic is.
Saying, actually, about the dock with more fleet spaces, you could have it like scroll down.
I don't know.
You know, like put like a Scrabble on the side. Then
again, if you think, like, if they have to double our storage across the board of the entire player base, then I mean, is that going to create a lot of server shit their end? I don't know. I mean, is that a difficult request?
Yeah, that's why I'm not saying, hey, that's a great idea. So like I said, we've discussed the dock and the storage. I actually brought it up last week too with some changes we're doing with PvP. I'm like, guys, folks are going to want to store more, and there was some very good reasons why not. That's just, the technical side of what we do and how we store information, and more importantly, how we retrieve information. But it's on the list, guys. That's all I could say is we definitely agree as a team that the more holes we ship, the more we need to allow you to store them and use them.
Okay, awesome. GDR, you are very quiet today, my friend. What is going on?
I'm letting GDA speak because he's saying all the stuff, so I don't need to say anything because I agree with what he's saying. So
okay, cool. Well, you're a big fan favorite at TFC. They always used to use you as a punch bag last year, so.
Well, yeah, I mean that's part of my job, right? That's what I signed up for.
No worries. Okay, Mark, do you want to? Is there anything else while we're on this subject? Admins, is there anything else you would like to ask GDA on like the jazz?
Well, I mean, we could cover the build times now, or we can wait until we get into the raid stuff, since it's actually kind of raid related.
It's up to you, George.
That's up to them, actually, not me.
It's probably best to do it now because
okay.
I can tailor the slides
Okay, yeah.
accordingly, can't I?
All right. So one of the issues that seems to be coming up, especially the way that the hulls have been released, is that we had to build the icebreaker. To get the icebreaker fleet out, it's going to take the full month so we can get ready for this first raid. Now the mono comes out, and to get that fleet ready for the next raid is going to take up your second month. It's essentially locked a lot of us out of PvP for 2 months, where we don't have our shipyard at all, because we're trying to keep up with this raid stuff, and then we only have 1 more month before we have to start the next raid hull. What's the deal with that? Like, is there something? Are you guys looking at that? Is there a reason for that?
Best way to answer it is all things PvP are currently looked at with an eye towards separating them out from PvE as much as possible. So things like storing so storing your conquerors, repairing your conquerors, building your conquerors. We're looking at all that. The game's pretty old, and so every time we want to touch a fundamental system like the dock, it just it's like spaghetti. So we have to be aware of that, and so time estimates really are what's holding us back from doing. If I woke up tomorrow and waved my magic wand, yeah, you'd have a separate build queue, you'd have a separate repair queue, everything PvP would be separate, and then that way it's all about seat time and not about things like waiting for your dock to open up. We're going to move in that direction in every way we can, and use tokens as a
Well,
between.
I have a good idea, actually. Why not just make PvP free for everyone?
Well,
CGDR.
Here's the other thing, though, is going in through these build times and stuff. We're using up and burning through all the tokens that are in the FM, which used to be the stepping stone and doorway to be able to engage in PvP. Now it's kind of required to use that so you can just be ready for this raid. And it's now that it's a 3-month raid cycle, you kind of, the overlap is extreme right now. Literally, I have 30 days out of 90 to do, any type of adjustments, or if I want to change my base guard, or if I, God forbid, want to build a Conqueror hull so I can go hit somebody. It's right now, my investment's going to be 2 months for just 2 fleets, and they're not actually going to even be ready. Like, my icebreakers are not going to be ready come raid in 2 days. I didn't have enough time.
I think that's an excellent point. We're aware that the moving from 4 to 3 months it was an unintended burden. I'll put it that way. We didn't intend for it to be that kind of a burden. It was intended to be more of like an opportunity for you guys to keep everything nice and tight with the rewards and move forward with them.
And I think too, to give you guys that extra whole store too, right? Like, that was sort of, I think, the intent, and to refresh all the targets as well, so that we kind of go through everything, so that all the hulls and all the different silos get a use throughout the year. And I think that was really like the fundamental intent behind the 3-month versus 4. So
Right.
as a result, there are net effects that come from that, and one of which you pointed out that we're still working through and trying to figure out the best way to address. So but what you bring up is a completely valid point, and something that we'll definitely bring back to the team.
Yeah, and you guys are looking at it, because just the biggest thing is, like, I used to rely on those tokens so I could participate in PvP, and now I actually have to rely on them to get ready for raid. But is it something that you guys are looking at actively?
Yeah, so I referred to the triangle before. Like, I'm a systems designer, so I think of everything in terms of, like, what's the smallest system that this is. So the system of this game is the 3 things I talked about: seat time, repair, and the limited queues that we offer you. And so when we say let's improve the game, or when I say how do we fix this, those are the 3 things we look at. First and foremost. And so what you guys are referring to is one of those things. And we're definitely looking at it. Just I have nothing to add to it right now.
Okay. That's fair.
Other than all things.
So long as you guys are aware, as long as you guys are aware of it, that's just a thing that's, because there's a lot of people that are, it's starting to be honestly a burden, because it's like, we want to play the other aspects of the game as well. And then can we bring up the charged armor? Like, Are we going to do that in the raid part?
I think we'll bring that up in a bit.
Well, no, I'm glad you're looking into these ship builds, mate, because I mean, I've just come back to like the game and I've got the Gen Blitz hull, and I've literally spent since the last raid, all I've done is build that fleet. I had to build a Zealous as well because I didn't have a good enough tank light, and I've done all my doc has done is just build a fleet for the raid line. I couldn't. I couldn't refit a guard. I couldn't refit my PvP fleets. It's just purely being a raid fleet, like, and because I'm not caught up on the FM as well, which a lot of folks aren't. I'm not getting the access to those build tokens as well, like, so I can't speed it up, which the bigger guys can, like. So.
Which exacerbates the problem. Yeah,
it does.
I mean, that's why I asked that. That's why I asked that question. I mean, it's as long as they're going to look at it. I mean, that's, we can't get promises today. I mean, it's so long as they bring it back. That's the thing. But the I mean, we can cover the armor later on then.
Okay, so we move on the slides.
The next slides.
We will take you guys at the hot seat for a time. We appreciate you guys answering the questions there. Mark, go with the slides.
Okay, so clearly, obviously, this the next raid is the Cold War series. The first one, Espionage. Okay, there's the picture of the badge that you're going to be getting. Okay, the Vanguard badge itself, which is pretty funky. I think quite like that one.
Shiny.
Yeah, people that like badges, and I've got a couple in my alliance. They do anything to get a badge. Just note that, okay, GDs, they'll do anything to get a badge. All right, it's just one of those things. I collect holes, they collect badges, and other people just like hitting bases. It's a funny little mechanic. Each person's got their own little forte. So. I don't need to read it out. You can see what's going on there, basically. But it's a new format, and we all know that it's a garrison target sort of setup. Well, I'm not so sure I'm so keen on garrison targets having ships that move quite as fast as these ones do, but I'm sure we'll get used to them. So there we go. So bear in mind, it's event number 1 of 3. Okay, this one begins on the 13th, finishes on the 17th. So just a few basics then. As we've said then before, then the normal start times, it's 9 o'clock for Alpha, PDT time, going through to 1 p.m. obviously for the Epsilon guys. We're back on the same time, like friends everybody else, so it's obviously plus 8 hours for us in the UK as well. Now there's a new dynamic here, which is quite good. I like that. So the relocation thing is obviously gets locked out. Your friends list dropped down to 10. Your sector threat, obviously you lose that as well. Your base part targets, etc. But it's nice the fact they're going to keep it on this time until just before your sector goes live. So your world goes live and then it will drop off. It used to be as soon as Alpha went live, everybody's dropped off. That's now changing. So Epsilon can still crack on, and they can still go and get all their 91s, sorted out if they want to get their, the Hyperion parts and that sort of stuff. And stock on uranium as well. So I think that's a big bonus. Otherwise they're penalised for a great amount of period of time because obviously their raid ends longer, and technically they've shut out the market for longer than everybody else. So I think that's a Billy bonus, to be honest. I'm quite pleased with that update. Let's see how it rolls out. Speak to the guys in Epsilon, see how they get on. So there's that one there. Uranium as per ever. Everyone always complains about uranium, but I think actually, to be honest, as the game has developed on, I think getting the Zoe Man of Wars actually hit now is actually quite straightforward for most people. I think most people are doing it to quite a reasonable sort of standard now. So I've had less in-sector complaints on general comms about struggling there. They just want to know when they're starting. Well, as it says there, they're starting up on the Saturday morning, and it's a 42k payout, or it should be on completion for most people. The rest of it is standard as you progress through the targets. Obviously, in the raid, you'll get up to the points in. At 10 million, you get 20k, so that's not too bad.
And just so everyone is aware, those things aren't coming out until Saturday, so please stock up on your uranium before you start the raid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, especially and all those bits that people for Hyperiums as well. People that are actually doing their mega holes, they start running out of the titanium and they start crying as well. So stock it up. Good. Okie dokie. GD, I was going to say something about daily chess. What are you going to say, mate?
No, just that, you can help stock yourself up through doing the dailies to get the chests. Right?
Stack them up, that's right.
Yeah.
I have a serious gambling addiction with them. The second I get one, I open it. I can't beat them. I'm like, right, I will save 10 chests for the raid. Oh, I don't have to spend them.
I'll just say welcome to Doom in chat, because Doom's in chat, and I know Laredio's in chat as well. So evening, guys. How are we?
Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Good. So there we go. So that's the uranium, that's the stuff. Next slide belongs to Rue, I think. Yep, here we go. Robin, this one's yours.
Yep, just a couple things to go over. We've talked about this before. We know that the first set of targets for the first cycle of the raid have been toned down, as in that they are supposed to be a little easier than additional iterations. So don't assume that if your citadels do really well in the first set of raid targets that they are going to also blow through the second and third raid cycles. We know that with the last raid that it kind of increasingly got more difficult. We also have cryo mines in this one. These cryo mines are not mines that you can actually shoot down. You can destroy them by driving over them, although I would not recommend that because it does involve damage. And also keep an eye out where the mines are at. I noticed in the preview there are a couple of places where there's kind of like the parting of the mines for the road into the target. So if you go into the target at the bottom, look around the target and see if there's an area where you can actually take your ship straight in and not actually have to navigate and do the Macarena around the mines as you're getting into the target. The May raid cycle, the second cycle, we're expecting 1 S target. And then June's raid cycle, we're expecting 2 S targets, very much like we had with the last raid and for the week-long text hull format. And that was it.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you very much. Right, so let's talk about targets themselves then. So there we go. We're going to tiers again, and things always seem to change their numbers. I'm not really sure if it is or it isn't different ones, but basically tier 6 then, which is previously labeled the A set, 3 targets you can see there then. So we're into the 81, 83, 85. That tier set, if you add all the points together, as you can see there, then it's a 3,750,000. Tier 5 then, which is previously the old B set, that's the 60s. Okay then, so that will get you a total of 1 million points in total there. The bonus of that's 400k, and as you can see then, obviously the C set, the old 41s, 43 and 45s, then that's going to give you 170k and bonus of 50k. So that's all up, obviously, you know. So add the bonus, and it gives you the 170k, that sort of stuff. So I take it there is a base multiplier for the C set. There normally is, isn't there? I didn't see anything in the notes, but there normally is. Normally you get diminishing returns the higher levels you go and that sort of stuff in the C set. But normally the tier 6 and tier 5 it isn't. We'll scroll forward quickly then. The Blitz target. So there's 3 this time, which is good. So I like the suggested holes. Okay, I like to know who's actually got a full set of monoliths built already. Frickin' coiners. Okay, I might have 1 or 2, but you know. But the monoliths basically, so it's a 1.6 million payout for that one there. A Blitz minimum, bear in mind if you are going to press Blitz, then obviously the minimum charge for that is 5 gold. Okay, so then damage on top of that obviously is obviously an extra 30 minutes. It's an extra coin, isn't it? Sorry, in fact, it's an extra hour is an extra coin now because it's half fixed time, isn't it, as well? So suggested holes for the next one down, the 84 target is the icebreakers, all monoliths, obviously, you know. And 800k payouts for that one there. Yeah, again, that's a 5 gold minimum payout cost. Sorry to you. And the basic one there, which is a 69, which is a dodgy number to choose for a target, but there we go. Okay, and the minimum gold for that one there is 1 coin. All right, stop smoking, Liam. Okay.
I'm not smoking. I was just going to say that I wish the citadels were written just a little bit higher on that chart. You know.
Yeah, well, to be honest, if the monoliths can do it, I think the citadels can do it. But then again, it depends on the power of those obviously those, you know, those retargeting sort of like mortars, because it's not necessarily how strong your target your tank is, it's how strong the mortars are that come in behind it to kill off the target. We've noticed that in FM before. You can have a strong as hell tank, but if your mortars that are coming in behind aren't powerful enough, your tank's going to take longer to kill it off. So,
Robin, I think you had something.
Yeah, actually, I just had a couple of questions today from various people, and it may have just been an oversight or a room thing, but there were a lot of people asking why the Empyrean wasn't actually mentioned in any of the recommended targets. Was that a reason behind that, or is it just got skipped?
It was an oversight, and what's ironic about it is the day before you guys brought it to my attention, I had asked the guy who's running the event the same question. I'm like, what should I be using my Empyrean Zealous fleet on? And so in the final version that Doom is currently editing for release, we include the Zealous and the Empyreans in there.
So we can.
I just don't remember right off the top of my head, and I don't have my notes in front of me as to which one. I don't want to be wrong.
So we can blame Doom this time. We'll just.
Actually, Doom just said in chat that it's in there now.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's done
right
it
on.
now.
Well, there we go then.
So before I put these slides out then tonight on the PDF, as I always do, I'll go back and have a look at Doom's notes, and then I'll make the correct edit so that it actually goes out live. All right, guys. So good. So that's the Blitz targets. And notice then, obviously below there, so standard base level reduction multiplier applies to the level. It says 60 target. It's actually, what's your base level for that? Is it start at 80 actually? Doesn't it? I believe it is, isn't it? Once you get above 80, you start getting the multiplier reduction. I'm pretty sure it is, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, 80. It seems to be.
Yeah, we think
So we'll nick back then. So basically the 84 target, and then going back to the tier 5 set then, which is the 60s and that sort of stuff then, that's basically the ones that you should be able to use your generous hulls. So I'll make sure that's edited before we send these out. Okay.
Yeah, the B set. I just looked at my notes.
Yeah. Okay. So the 61 through 65, and then basically looking across then to, looks like based off that there, if it's icebreakers and monoliths for that one, then you should, don't quote me, but you should be able to have a crack at the 84 and give it a go and see what it's like. Okay, moving on then. So campaigns, I know the release notes didn't quite have all the information, but we managed to pull out some extra details. So there are 4 campaigns basically. There's 2 of the Dark Depths and there's 2 of the Uprising basically. So each one of those, the top level one, the Elite, obviously kicks out at, for the Dark Depths, is, like as you can see there, it's 400k. And then it's 80 for the lesser one as well. Uprising 200k, and the lesser one is 40k. And as ever, then obviously the base multiplier applies to all the campaigns as well. So obviously, if you're really high level, 100 plus, you're going to get obviously less points than that. But that's pretty standard now through most of the raids. We've been used to that for a while, so you shouldn't see any huge surprises there when you don't get the 400k if you're a level 120 doing that, because it should be a doddle for you, to be honest. But it's nice things to do, and a lot of people do them sort of like at work on their mobile phones when they're auto and that sort of stuff. I know plenty of people do that just to stocking fill things, you know, that sort of stuff. Rather than doing their real work. But yeah. Okay, so prize list. I hope you can see that. But basically, that's the left tier and the right tier. Now, fortunately, if you did manage to get everything in the previous tech store, your left tier should be pretty much squared away, to be honest, and any of the TLCs that have happened subsequent to that. So you haven't really got to worry too much. I mean, I have to say, everything on the left side I've got and completely built as well. So for me, fortunately, and then halfway up on the right-hand side, obviously, I don't start until the Harlock's Alpha is my first item, which for me, then, I shouldn't have any problems going straight into the lock store. Is that right, guys?
Right.
I should be able to jump straight into the lock store instantly because I've got all the left done and I'm halfway up the right.
Yep, you should be good to go. If you have everything on the left, you should be right up in there.
We like that. Sorted. That's good. Okay, so...
but it's also, there's good prizes there for, let's just say you're a player that hasn't been in the game the last year. You know, you're kind of built yourself up to, say, level 60, 70. You're in a position to do the campaigns and get yourself, you know, maybe 6 million, maybe 4 million. You can grab the Citadel, the Judgment Mortar, and then make yourself competitive for the following raid.
There's some good stuff in there, I have to say. Judgment Mortar is still a good mortar. Don't knock it, guys, because it's weight. We did a comparison. I think Brian was doing some math actually the other day, and the comparison between Judgment, obviously the new over-under mortar, because the weight reduction actually, the weight points versus the number of mortars you can put on your hull, it panned out pretty even. It was quite decent. I was quite surprised, I must admit, when I saw that. Right, so that's the main front screen, as we always call it. It's the left and right tier. So everybody's got to finish off the left-hand side. Then you shouldn't have too far to go, hopefully, because you should ideally at least have the bottom 2 or 3 from normal routine things like FM, etc. Because that's where those are.
And can we just clarify the Harlock Alpha Behemoth, limited, not limited?
It's a flag, isn't it? So it's limited.
Yeah,
sure.
flagship. It's limited.
Okay. No, I just wanted to clarify in the air.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll look at the actual the blueprints for those in a second. So, and there we are. There's the unlock store. So there's a wrath of tokens in there again as well. So you can have the 1 hour shipbuild tokens times 10. I thought it was 12 last time, in fact, wasn't it? I'm not sure. Can't remember, but I thought it was 12 last time. 12 hour shipbuild tokens is 4, so that's 2 days worth there. And obviously the 24-hour ones as well, there's 3. So yeah. So it's going to be total, what is it? That's not too bad.
5 days, 10 hours.
5 and 10, isn't it? Yeah. So then we start looking at flags, don't we? And then we obviously, you know, the flag for the generalists, 10 million. I think that's quite a reasonable price. It is the only one I think is a reasonable price, but it's quite a reasonable price. I think 10 is quite a good price for that one.
What were you on? Sorry, I was just going to say what this was actually something Ren asked in the TFC chat. While we're on the subject of the flagships, seems like a good time to bring it up. A lot of people are obviously going to be looking at the flags and thinking, "Oh, I must have them all." But ideally, you know, what if you're running monoliths, you're going to want the monolith. If you're running icebreakers, you want the icebreaker. But I think there's the collectors in the game that want to collect everything, and maybe not would be any opportunity to collect everything this raid. So the big question from Ren is: are you going to be repeating these flagships in the next raid and the next raid? Are they going to be a continuous threat this cycle?
I don't know for sure, but my assumption would be that yes, we would be reoffering them throughout the cycle since they're kind of a key part of your set for when you're building your fleet. So I would say tentatively yes is my answer.
So especially the Empyrean Prime.
Yeah. So if for example, say I'm running monoliths and I think, right, I'm going to grab the monolith flag so I can get my monolith fleet ready for the next side, for the next event, and then in the next event I can get a crap load of points and take everything. Forward planning, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. If you plan, like, I think generally BP shows that if you plan ahead and you're thinking about what you need, when you need it, and how you're going to need it, it'll pay off in the long run, right? And I think we're going to make sure that continues. So.
Okay, brilliant. Sorry, Mark.
No, it's okay. It's just an interesting a chat's just come up about in saying that there's no Conqueror hull. Well, that's because we've got a Defender hull, which is over there, which is the Harlock's Alpha, and the Conquerors generally come in the TLCs. So for this now, actually, this is all about PvE and moving forward in PvE and that sort of stuff, and just I think solidifying what you've already started. I think settling down and just going, actually, I've got Citadels, but I've never managed to get the Harlock. Well, there it is, okay, and that will transform your game, especially if you've got the HVR shells. You know, we know about the Monolith flag that's out there. The price is a bit sneaky, I think. To be honest, I think 40 mil is a little bit too much, but you know. It is what it is, but I do think
it better be worth it. 40 mil. That's what I'm saying.
It's got some unusual characteristics, which we'll come on to in a minute. But it better be worth it. That's what I can say because I'll be collecting that one there.
Yeah.
I'd like to actually address something that's come up in chat a couple times now, and I don't know if people realize this, but the price cost has gone up in points for a lot of this stuff. But if you actually look at the percentage increases, the costs have gone up about 33% on most of it. Some of them not at all, like the charged armor, but our points per set have gone up 39%. So it's actually it's a benefit to us. I don't know why the price, the cost structure changed, but we're not getting boned, guys. I mean, I don't know why everyone's freaking about this, but if you do the math, we're getting more points per set than what the increase in price was. I just want that addressed because
GDA go first, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've the efficiency has gone up even as the points have gone up. It's kind of cold comfort to some folks, but you are getting a better deal than this raid last year.
Super. And GDR, you got an announcement as well, haven't you?
Oh, well, because someone was asking about the Conqueror hull. So the next Conqueror hull will be Sloth, which will be in May. So that'll be the right side that changes. So Sloth will be next.
And that'll be in the
in the raid, yep.
The raid.
Right. Yeah, I must admit, I have to say, the points thing does. I'm not saying it amuses me, but I'm not going to be really British about it. But at the end of the day, we have a football game and the score's 1-1. Whereas you have like 69-0 or something like that. I don't know. You work your score sheets, but we have ours really simple over here. It's like you scored one goal, we scored a goal, and that's it. It's not like everything's worth 1 million points. It's just one of those isms. And us Brits find it really hard to work out sometimes. But
points is better.
Yeah, you've got to get more.
Ever play pinball?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it feels.
Just end it with kicks math.
Yeah, kicks math. Okay, so
just have it.
So unlock store, here we go then. So the unlock store, which is quite decent. So that's the stuff on the bottom rows. There's some good stuff in there. I mean, the cheap old little coax Firestorm, which is a good little combo mortar, and obviously rocket. That's quite nice. Frontline countermeasure is decent in there. Phalanx 4 for 600 is quite nice to have as well. And it's nice to see the Hailstorm D back in there as well, because those two combined, and we all know that Hailstorm D, if you put that on obviously a Defender hull, it works far better than the Gales and that sort of stuff, because its overload capability can actually out overload the Judgment Mortar, and it's the only one that can. So that's quite a surprise to a few people. It caught some people out. So that's quite decent. Yeah, and obviously the Tide Seeker's in there as well. And I'm probably guessing if the Tide Seeker's in there, then a little while later, probably in the tech store, we might get the Harlock one back as well if they haven't got that already. But we'll see what happens in the future. That's 2 months away at least yet. So good. Okay, so that's on Lock Store. And then the Lock Store itself then, or I've already just shot myself in the foot. Is it in here? No, it's not. So the Icebreaker's in there, the limited one, which is good. And the rest of them above that, to be honest, I think are old hat. But if you're a whole collector, then they're worth having. Ghostcrawler is still good fun. Hellstar, Man of War. Don't even start on a Man of War. Okay, then.
No, Mark.
I saw a really good Man of War tank build the other day.
Yeah, all right. I'm not building a tank for a Man of War because if you've seen the fixed time on that, if you're caught with a hat fixed time, I'll start using it. But I only use it in the previews. Nothing.
I actually did ping GDA about mega ships a little while ago, didn't I? GDA. I mean, it's probably far off, but hopefully they may look at them at some point. I don't know.
We may look at them at some point. These super ships are just they're their own thing. Like collect them for sure, and they still have power. I mean, they're still effective.
But not cost effective. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Cost effective. That's my concern. Is
well, the Ghostcrawler obviously is still a beast.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Best thing out still. I love it. Good fun. Yeah. So anyway, so they're in there as well. But please note the top two though. So this compound armor D6 Alpha. Obviously, there's 10 of those in there, and so is obviously the Gale Defense 3 system. Okay, so you can get the Gale 3 in there, and you can get the compound armor. But obviously, look at the times there. It's a limited one as well. It's got you're going to have it up until basically Saturday at 9 a.m. PST, and that's it. It's done. So for us, that's just in the afternoon in the UK, plus 8 hours, obviously. So just bear that in mind. Okay. And now's the time to talk about charged armor, okay? And so the price for a start is still 10 freaking million. Okay, then you robbing bloody. Okay.
Actually, I like the charged armor, and I do think it works. And I used it, and I saw noticeable difference. Like whenever I've used it, apart from in the current FM because it's not designed for the current FM. But that's fine. I can deal with that. But I don't like that it is 10 million in the second raid. I would have seen it like to have seen it come down maybe to 7.5 per, just a little decrease. And I was
that effectively is what it is now because of the increase in points.
Yeah, I know you get increased points for the raid. Stop trying to outmass me, dick. Oh, I've said it again.
I'm just saying, man. It's not my fault you're stupid with math.
Okay, Tweedledee and Tweedledum are off again. Right, anyway, so the point is it looks less because you're going to get 5. So it's still 100 million when you put the two together. Okay, so that's about, 14? Where's Brian? He's disappeared. It's about 14 targets for the tier 6 or something like that. That's an awful lot of points to add on top of what you're already going to get.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to collect everything this raid, which is the first raid in this cycle, I'll remind you, then you're going to need like over 200 million points, which is...
Yeah, I think it was 385 million or something like that.
Woo, get in there.
Right.
I mean, the question I have with the charged armors in the two preview servers, the M seemed effective when I used it in the targets. The X, not so much.
So the question
I'm curious.
Yeah,
I'm curious about that.
So first off, when we did the preview, we got some good information about how they're performing, and they did perform, as sort of Stu outlined, like they performed really well on some of the upper end targets. We did find that they were underperforming on some of the lower end targets, and we looked into that. There was a bug. We fixed the bug, and now it should perform well on those lower end targets for the new raid series. So that should fix it. So the charged armors are pretty equitable for equipping them. So they will be, they're temporary in terms of like the pool, right? But they are outperforming the resistance versions. Or you can, and you have no repair time. Or you can put on the resistance one. It's stable. It's not temporary in like a given combat thing, but you have to add the repair. So that's basically it.
But I hope, I mean, let me highlight something you did say before. The raid itself has not been specifically tailored to people that have these armors. Like you don't have to have these armors to succeed. you know, it's an option. You may see a marginal improvement, but it's not going to be a massive leap between using resistances and charged, basically.
Right. Well, that's why I mentioned the resistance one, right? Because like it still works, right? Like we're not tuning the targets around these charged armors. This is it from our perspective. This is a luxury item for those who can get it. And so if you can get it and you build it, great, you'll see a return on that. If you don't, no worries. You'll still be able to like do the raid, quote unquote. You know, just use resistances like you normally would, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, I think that's important to mention, just because I think when the charge armors, we first did the charge armors, there was a bit of a mass panic, and a lot of people thought, hey, if I don't get them, I'm not going to be able to do the raid. And I just thought it was important to point that out.
Yeah, that was never the intention with charge armor. It's always intended to be a luxury item with an ROI on it that makes it better than resistance under certain conditions, specifically around these new targets.
Okay, super. Okay. So let's look at some of the holes, I think, quickly, and then George is going to pick up on a couple of questions before you guys have to shoot, because I know you've got exactly 1 hour, haven't you, to run with. So this is quite a busy slide, I must admit, because it's got a lot of capabilities, this hole. So this is the new alpha and that sort of stuff. Some of the statistics have changed from preview. Does anybody want to talk? GDA, do you want to mention about what has changed and what hasn't changed from the preview?
Well, basically, it's really tough and it kills shit. So, in short,
I think, yeah. Oh, so I will admit I was not super involved with the specific changes. My understanding is this: we did lower the range given from the thrower special, and then we added it back into the Behemoth. So what that did was it gives the Behemoth the range that we wanted to, which is the crazy long range to shoot this new thrower, but you can't like do it on the flip side with a retribution where you're getting like 117 range. So we blocked that part. I think that's the big change that we did.
Good. Yeah, because that was a bit of a concern of me. Otherwise, people would be coming in with doing that and then spotting, and we want freaking an extra 50 base tiles because, you know, we wanted 7 to the center of our islands or something like that, you know. So we've flipped the mechanics around. Basically, it's on the hull, it's not on the weapon. Yeah. Good. Excellent. Right, guys, it's a busy slide. I'm not going to sit on this one for too long, basically, but there's a load of stats there. Like I say, the PDFs will be up, and obviously you can actually go on the Kixeye's own page as well if you want to have a look at it. It'll be in the game soon anyway, and you'll be able to see it. Build it or not, you'll still be able to see the statistics. But it's got a lot of deflection. It's 3,000 across the plan for nearly all the deflection stats, basically. And it's got some good special abilities there. You know, splash is boosted and that sort of stuff. Range is quite decent, and yeah, there's some extra buffs in there that are quite decent. It's got the bloodthirst capability and that sort of stuff. So
yeah.
Do you know, I just finished the Alpha Behemoth.
Have you?
So, I'm so annoyed about that.
I'm laughing because I told you to build it. So at the same time, though, this flagship buffs all of the alphas in the fleet as well. So
yeah,
that's not a bad thing. I mean, you're just going to buff the alpha you've already built. So
yeah, and then obviously stick one of those gluttonies as well. So, you know, and this has got a therm of 90, so it's quite decent.
Yeah, I actually messed around with it on the preview server, and I had people hit me, and it was really funny because I put on the thrower, but then I did a kind of a cheeky thing, I guess, and I built airstrike UAVs, and that just wrecked people because they weren't ready for that. It was really funny.
For you, yeah.
Yeah, for him.
Hey, Jeff in the chat, mate. How you doing, buddy? Right, okay, so that's the alpha, okay, and I do apologize about the stats, but there was an awful lot of them, and that's the way they were just presented to us. So, but moving on, obviously, so here we go. Here's the thrower, and like I said, the range zone is now 88. You know, so it has been knocked back a little bit, but I think the remaining stats are actually pretty similar to what they were before. You know, it's got a reasonable splash there, but I like the splash 10 to 20. Okay, so that's a variable flat splash. Basically, the way it works out, spread of 10 as well. So, yeah, damage is still 8,500. That sort of stuff. Salvo is 20. So it's more about time, over time, isn't it? How these things work, isn't it? Normally, yeah. Okie dokie. But obviously, the reload, by the time you put on the specials and that sort of stuff and get your ship ranked up, I used this in the preview and I thought it was actually quite decent. It made quite a mess of prides, I have to say. It definitely did seem to chew them up a little bit. So,
the accuracy reduction is a huge factor on it.
Yeah, it is. We're really happy with the two poloniums that you're showing today.
Yeah, I think they're working quite well. I have to say, I liked it in the preview. I know the range was a little bit goofy, but you know, I wasn't worried about the range because I knew it would get corrected. So that's the thrower. And then obviously the accelerator itself then. So what you take away with one, you gain another one. So you've gained some reactive reload there, which is nice. Okay, and then you gain obviously some damage on top of that. And there are some really other good specials in the game that already boost up obviously radioactive damage and that sort of stuff. So this linked to me with a few other things as well. You can get some crazy damage out of the out of this item here. So yeah, there has been a few nerfs and that sort of stuff. Let's not call them nerfs either, but a few tweaks. Okay, so the final version, which is what we've got now, is from the preview. The preview is a test, and that's what we do. It's always subject to change. So this is the final version. And you know what? If they have to downscale, that's because we don't want power creep, and I get it. We want contemporary stuff that works and that sort of stuff, but it's not going to creep and then wreck the game by just one thing being totally overpowered. So you'd be all gutted, I know you would, if you put this in your base and all of a sudden no one could actually succeed in getting through a base.
I wouldn't be gutted about that at all.
Not at the moment, because you keep getting turned over. But, good. Okay, so there you go. That's the accelerator. So that's the hole, that's the special, and that's the weapon. Okay, so that's the rights tree. We've done that. Here we go. So here's the prime and that sort of stuff. The Empyrean Prime. This is who's building this? Stu, you want this one, Monster, don't you, mate? This is yours, isn't it?
I'm going to get this one.
This is the one for you, buddy, isn't it? So what does it do to the rest of the fleet? That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
So explosive defense boosts up, penetrant defense boosts up, explosive damage goes up by 40%. That's pretty decent. And then affects all ships in all the friendly aura with explosive defense of 50, penetrant defense of 50, and explosive damage of plus 40. So that's pretty reasonable, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That's with the zealots in there as well. So there's an unusual mechanic on this thing, this generalist thing. I must admit, I haven't built any generalists because I go top.
So go ahead. Well, all I was going to say is one of the ideas is you should be seeing a flagship for the Empyreans coming every raid cycle. And the reason why is this is how we turn your generalists into a raid appropriate fleet. So this guy is going to turn your Zealous tank and your Empyreans into basically garrison hitting ships.
Right. That makes sense now.
This combined with the generalist weapon special.
Yeah.
Okay. So next raid cycle, if you still had the same fleet and just changed up the flagship, potentially. So you could potentially, if you stuck with generalists, you'd be saving a hell of a lot of money and time in PvE builds.
But they will never be as good as our specialist holes.
Of course.
In the same application. Right.
But one tier down, yeah. So that's reasonable. If you've got the time to seek time, your build time is much less, and definitely the points that you need to get it is much less. So, it's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go for it, obviously, because I've got a gen release fleet built.
Yeah, I'm looking to see in some of your videos, Monster, because I know you do a few and that sort of stuff, and we'll definitely put one on page because it'll be good.
And also, yeah, no worries. So another thing too, when you transition to that next cycle, Liam or Stu, is we'll offer the new generalist components that go for that next cycle. And yes, we're aware it has a heavy weapon slot. We know that.
Yeah,
so just
I'm interested in that.
Sort of saying it's a way for us to heavily help you specialize towards a certain category by you equipping that heavy weapon. So we're currently looking at developing those heavy weapon lines so that you'll have those 4 generalists to go and perform in that way. Yeah.
What about because it's the generalist hull, right? So you can adapt.
Yep. So it's a refit model, basically.
So that's when it's going to pick. It'll pay dividends then, won't it?
Yeah. So as long as you have it, if you built like 3 Empyreans, the Zealous, and then the new flagship for the cycle, and then you put all the new generalist stuff on it for that particular cycle, you'll be decent at the current cycle that you're performing in. And then,
that's the plan.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Last cycle we had a generalist only cannon. This cycle generalist only more. Next cycle generalist only, and etc.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay, interesting. Good. Okay, and so like I said, these will be on the slides. So statistics you can actually fine tune and look at them yourselves a little bit. Repair duration then is fixed now at 2 hours 13, which is pretty reasonable, I think, for a flag. It's not too bad. Here's a beast. This one's quite surprising. I must admit. Do you honestly think this can act as a tank in its own right, or do you think you're going to have to bring a tank in with it?
I'm building it with.
Is this designed to be a tank?
I think it just feels weird that you're building this thing as a tank. It just doesn't feel right because obviously the rest of them are mortar chuckers that we always use. Obviously, at range.
So this is intended to be your tank, right? It's Gridiron's Monolith, not the Monolith, right? So it is intended to be the tank for the Monolith. And as you can see, it gives that bonus effect to all the Monoliths in the fleet, which make it tankier, more damage, critical chance. I mean, it really is going to buff your Monoliths. It does displace the ring behind, like the Monarch did.
Monarch, yes. Yeah.
Yes. So it does do that. So it's still a skill fleet in the sense that you're going to have to navigate where that ring is relative to your back line. But if you can line it up, it's going to really boost your Monolith fleet to be really strong. And if you make this your tank with the appropriate countermeasures and things that you would do to a tank, you're going to perform quite well by having this along with a Monolith fleet.
Okay, Stu, what's your point, mate?
I was just about to say I actually really like the Gridiron's Monolith, and I've built myself 4 icebreakers and intended to build the icebreaker flag, and now I want to build the monoliths as well. So first world problems.
That's why I'm switching to monoliths. I mean, I'm switching to monoliths.
So I know where you guys are pushed for time. George, there was something you wanted to try and ask before the GDs had to run.
Yeah, there was. I mean, there was some people asking if we were going to have access to certain hulls again, like the Empyrean and all that stuff. And then a lot of people started asking about older Tier 5 hulls. Are there plans for us to have access to older TLCs so that like mid-levels can get, like retributions and stuff like that if they want to use them?
Spite.
And like the tokens, the spite. I mean, do we have plans? Do you guys have plans about getting old TLCs up and going? Maybe weekly, like 1 or 2 old ones so people can play.
And for quick clarity, you're referring to more of the availability of the content, not so much the fact that it's a TLC. Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm thinking TLC because I actually enjoy the TLC. So.
Okay, so you actually enjoy TLC.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both, I guess. Both aspects of that.
Okay,
but not like loads of TLCs offering us new stuff, just repeats of older TLCs.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I know we do repeats for older content for TLC specifically. I don't know the exact specifics of like we're going to offer X, Y, and Z, but I know that for example, in the tech store last time, we offered every single Conqueror hull for the Tier 5 category that we possibly could. So if it's not that we won't re-offer content for the lower end stuff for mid-level players. Now, how and where we're going to do it, I think that's something we're still discussing. But
I think
intending to give stuff out. Yeah, sure.
Well, I think the reason why I was thinking TLC mostly is because when you guys do offer it through the TLC, there's also the offer of the tokens as well, so that way that they can just get it out and start playing.
Yep, no, that's fair. I mean, that's something worth considering, I guess, on our end when we do consider how to offer stuff like this.
Okay.
But again, we're not against re-offering older content for mid-level players to participate in the fun parts of the game, quote unquote.
All right, and so no one in chat kills me because a lot of people have been sending me messages. Mega hulls, do we have any outlook on mega hulls? Because some of us love them, some people hate them. Stu's gonna have a conniption fit, but we didn't see the new one that was coming, or that we thought was coming out, the Reaver one, and I'm missing a bridge module for my missiles.
So I'm working on a mega TLC right now, actually, and our main goal right now is there's 2 parts to anything we build, right? There's getting it and then using it. So right now we're refocusing on getting it for all levels of modules and everything else, so that way players can start to catch up. And we've also fixed a few bugs and stuff like that have come up while we're working on the whole getting it part. And then once we see that people are starting to get it, we'll move on to the content side and be producing even more content. But yeah, we got another mega TLC coming up pretty soon.
Sweet.
Can I just ask a quick question? Are you taking a look at road crews at all? Because with new targets being bigger and having to drive around mines and taking more time, we're going to be burning through crews a lot faster. And I just didn't know if they were ever going to get looked at again, because a lot of them are old and out of date and stuff like.
Yeah, we did a pass not too long ago, and we weren't too happy with the pass. we've got a couple competing plans on the table right now. One is for 2018, which isn't any good, and then we have another one that's more about removing old ones that are for holes that no one cares about, and then seeing what we can do about bumping up some of the rarities, and also making sure that no one ever gets a BB again. That's pretty important.
Well, you made sure that none of us get a DOS again.
Yes, rest in peace.
Definitely those.
No DOS, no BB.
Yeah.
Obviously, we hate you all.
BB crews and 3-day tokens are for Mark only. Sorry, no one else gets them.
Everyone gets lucky bastards crew because you're a lucky bastard.
That's correct. Obviously.
OP crew.
Okay, how are we doing for time, guys?
We're on the line. I don't know if you guys need to shoot. I know you said you would need.
I definitely need to bounce, so I'm going to be out of here.
I do too, but we could say some farewells and all that.
Yeah, no, well, of course, thanks guys for coming on the show. I know you've sort of been victim to the onslaught, but you guys have done great, and thanks for coming on and sharing the information with us. We really appreciate your time.
Yep.
No worries.
Yeah, it's been a blast, guys. Cheers.
Yeah,
It was our pleasure.
It was great to meet you, GDA. It was great to see you again, GDR, and look forward to having you guys on again. Take care,
Right,
guys.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Have a good night.
And then there was what do you guys really think about GDA?
He's a horrible person. He was to me inside chat.
No.
You can tell he's less stressed than GDR. He's still got a sense of humor.
You don't offend my lovely GDR, all right?
I'll slate him in a PM in a minute. Don't worry. Right. Okay. Let's carry on these slides because otherwise we're going to be here for 2 hours. Okay, and it's the wrong show for that. Right. So the gridirons basically. So this one, the fixed time, then is 3 hours 28 minutes. Okay, so it's 3.5 hours. Okay, in normal repair time. Just so you're aware. Okay, then map speed's quite decent. So combat speed again. So this one actually is better. Combat speed 12 and turn speed 10. So actually it's the same as the other ones there, but you can crank these things up quite funky because we all know about how the Monolith now has a bit of a speed boost to it and that sort of stuff. So it ends up being quite a funky ship. But I know Robin likes these a lot.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah,
I think we all do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some extra videos. I might actually have a little tinker around with this thing as well. So I'm going to put all my build tokens into. This will be the first thing I'm going to get, and then I'm going to get all the tokens as well and build this thing straight away, and then go and play with it. That's my goal, anyway. Otherwise, I won't have much else to do. But that's my plan. Right. Good. That's that one. Let's go forward to the next slide. So here we go. The other thing I'm also going to get, because I've got the other ones, is this icebreaker. Whether I build it or not, I have no idea. But at the end of the day, this thing here, special abilities as it says there. In fact, what's the fixed time first? This is another one that's 2 hours 55 minutes. Okay, so it's just under 3. It's nice to be just under for a change, actually, as a blank, because obviously normally they do like 2 hours and 1 minute or something. It just makes an extra coin, doesn't it? So
it's nice to see him stick to that Visago tradition of that little red blip on the top. You remember Visago's Interceptor and stuff?
Looks like Doctor Who's TARDIS gone wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah, Doctor Who's TARDIS or sorry, what did you say?
The evil version of it.
Yep.
It does, doesn't it? So yeah, it's a proper draconian thing, isn't it? Yeah, it's quite decent though, isn't it? So field resistance is plus 90 on the special ability, slow resistance plus 75, and it's got some nice. The aura cap is 5, as it says there. So what does it do? It gives explosive defense plus 15, penetrative defense plus 15, combat speed plus 25. That's going to make them zoom around a little bit, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Projectile speed boost of 10%. Well, better than nothing, I suppose. But turn speed is 25%. That's definitely a must. I think that's important. And the rocket reload is another 10% on top of that again. So that's not too bad, is it?
And I think if you've gone down the icebreaker path and you're looking to autopilot these targets, then this is really, really going to enhance that ability.
The only one reason I'm building this, mate, is because I'm going to autopilot, hopefully, the next set of FMs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that explosive damage right there on the Bloodthirst part, plus 100, I mean, that's going to open you up to if you have 4 other ones, to take one out and add more countermeasures, so that way you can, auto easier when it goes to FM, I think. I mean, I like this hull too.
Yeah, me too.
But if you're not planning on using them in the raid as well, then you can at least collect it and take your time. That's
my plan. Is I'm projecting forward, so driving in the raid, obviously with my monoliths and that sort of stuff, but being really lazy in my FM and hopefully just using this on auto. That's my plan.
It's cutting future chore time basically, which is what we all want. So
yeah. So it's not a build for now, but it's definitely a build for later on. So I'm quite content to do that personally. Good. Right. So that's that one there then. Take it away, Stu. This is yours, mate.
Bug fixes and tuning. Made a small adjustment to the display of the remote target full loss stats so that a plus sign isn't used, as it is not actually a bonus, but rather a standard statistic.
Cool.
Awesome. Fixed an issue where health bars for the enemy were showing always as empty in the end game campaign.
I didn't notice
Not
that.
seen that. No.
Nor did I, but okay, thank you. Post update issue. We have received reports that countermeasures are not firing correctly following the update. The QA team is aware of these reports and are investigating now. Thanks. I haven't logged onto the game yet, so I don't know. EMP blast on the Ghost Crawler is not working. Work in progress. Okay.
I believe deep dive could be an issue as well, but I'm not sure.
Depends.
Yeah, right, okay.
That's a different game.
That's a different game that we play in the after show.
Okie dokie. Is there another one?
No, do you know what? Of that piece, that's it. So all we're going to go for is we're back across to Robin.
Yeah, just we're still seeing instances of people who are unsure with where we're going with the targets, and so just wanted to touch on this a little bit. We know that a variant of the current raid targets will end up becoming the new FM targets. So sometime after June's raid, these types of targets will become the new FM. Again, don't assume that the older fleets, Novas, DNX, Citadels, things like that, that perform really well in the current FM are actually going to perform the same way in the new targets. And then once the new targets are live, Conqueror hulls will no longer be able to engage in the FM targets. And I hate to harp on this because most of us know it, but there are still people that don't. And there were a lot of people that came back to the game during the last raid who got some ships that they were playing with. And so there are a lot of people that are unaware of this. So if you're an alliance, if you have a sector page, if you have your own alliance chat, something like that, just please pass the word or remind people that Conqueror hulls are going to be 100% blocked from FM targets when the new targets load. So that being said, now is the time to look at your FM fleet for after the raid. If we pop onto the next slide, Mark. So we want to make sure that you're starting your FM fleet as soon as possible. Now, if you've already started a new fleet for your raid, where you're using icebreakers or monos or Empyreans or whatever version thereof, then great. You're actually ahead of the game. If you haven't, you need to start working on it now. That gives you 90 days to go ahead and get that fleet started. We've got 3 or 4 VXP weekends that you can take advantage of, as well as FM tokens. So there should not be anybody when we flip over in July to the new targets that is not able to participate. So again, please pass the word. Even if you are beating a dead horse, there are still people out there that are unaware of it.
Bang on, perfect. Yeah, so this is the one time of the year after all these raid cycles where actually you should be able to go straight from raids straight into new FM. And ideally, we'll probably get that month handover takeover of the the FM targets from the previous ones to the next ones. But be cautious with that, because if you're going to be using the icebreakers, they don't quite work the same in the current FM targets. I can promise you, because I've tried it, as I was interested, as obviously they will do in these targets, because the dynamics of the target mechanic is made different. Okay, and so just bear that in mind. All right. Any other expand on those points? Anybody else got any points that Robin's covered there?
Nope.
Nope. Fantastic job.
We're good. Right, excellent. Okay, so we'll just move forward to the last slide then. So this is a bit of a whip, basically, from the TFC website. Okay, so Andrew's added 2 areas here then. So he's got a big area there on outpost designs and that sort of stuff, and he's covering all the different layers, the layouts of all the different sort of OP levels. So we're up to the outpost level 9 designs, which is going to focus on first, obviously, and that'll be a work in progress moving forward. So we're going to capture some of the previous ones, but mostly go from 9 and then carry on. So we've got to start somewhere.
Is that the thing I'm supposed to be working on?
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, mate, but that is obviously your area.
Yeah, you lazy prick.
I'm just like,
I have to say,
like that.
I always feel really bad for Andrew, because the guy works like night and day on TFC, like whether it's the show,
he does the website.
The website. I mean, he does. He works, and no one ever sees him. So like,
Andrew and I talk a lot. Don't worry, we talk a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I talk a lot with him, but I just like, we can't give him enough credit. Andrew, thank you, because you do so much for the show, and you're
Agreed.
the
He does. You're right.
Yeah,
no, I was just about to say, like, I'm sure I'm supposed to like do something to do with this, but I can't remember for the life of me.
So the right hand side's yours, mate. Yeah, okay, that's your specific job.
Okay, I'll do it in a couple of months, years.
And the left-hand side is basically previous raids, and then what you got them in. Because people are always arguing, oh, that came in this raid, and that came in this raid. So that's what that left-hand side is all about what the raid was about, and then having a laugh and a bit of a look back, because I was giggling at something earlier on. I was like, someone was saying in the chat, actually, oh, I can remember when you only had to go and get, like 20 million, you got everything. Well, I can remember you had to be top 3 in the sector, and you were God for a month because nobody else had the hull, and you could go and obliterating everybody else and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But by God, you had to sit in the seat a long time to get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing I do want to add, since we're talking about Andrew, I also know that he's working on the raid calculator with all that interactive crap that he did last time, and I think if he gets out of work on time tomorrow, it should be up tomorrow for everybody. So.
Oh yeah, he did say he was going to do it tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah, that's another thing that he busts his ass on. So that should be up, and like Liam said, man, that dude kicks ass.
Bear in mind on that one, his raid calculator, obviously, it takes account of your base level as well. So if you think about that drop off, it's already in his calculator. You put your base level in, it'll tell you if you are hitting the lower level targets. It'll add the multiplier in for you, so you'll know how many you have to hit.
Yep. Lots and lots of math, and not Kixeye math. That's TFC math. So you can trust.
Which is why I don't touch it. I'm a coin blitz man, me.
I've helped him with a couple little things with him being at work and posting some stuff, and I have to tell you, I've actually been inside the kimono per se and seen all of the stuff, and it is truly amazing what he puts together and how he does it, and I'm amazed.
Yep.
Andrew is also, he was one of the first people I ever met in Battle Parts. We were in my first ever alliance together. We were born in the same sector together, so he's literally we've been friends for 6 years. So
I just have this image that we have him locked away in a cupboard somewhere, just running to try and
one of Brian's cupboards.
Occasionally,
Andrew, work harder.
Give him a sandwich and a glass of milk.
Exactly. Yeah, just occasionally giving him a jam sandwich and saying that he must create more websites. Do it now.
I mean, I must say, there are other people who do raid calculators as well and that sort of stuff, and there's a couple of good ones out there. But obviously, we'll put ours up on our website and that sort of stuff. So we try to make it a one-stop shop. And just quickly, if I was going to actually just show one more thing, which I need to bring the page up, which I don't know if I can now. Let me have a quick look. Just keep chatting amongst yourselves. I'll see if I can find it.
Let's.
We'll do the best you can. So,
it's been a great show tonight, and I'm really glad that the GDs come on. It was great for us to kind of get a sort of early whip. I know there is a whip coming. It's not. Is it a whip or a state of the game? And there is a state of the game coming, but it is quite long-winded, and I believe it's being worked on. So we look forward to seeing that. But key points. I was interested to hear from GDA in the early part of the show about them already looking at the PvP stuff and how they can make PvP much faster, much smoother, so we can enjoy it more and focus less on needing to build everything for everything. So hopefully, that rings true and we see some stuff on that. But
so that's the last thing I've got then, basically. If you can just share that screen there for just a couple of seconds, Liam. That's Andrew's page at the moment on our TFC website, basically, which obviously is the forsakencouncil.co.uk. So that's our Pacific page then. If you go into the home page, you'll see raid help and that sort of stuff. Then that's one. So that's the countdown timer for when it kicks off. There's going to be live streams there, basically, and each of the targets, you've got all the tiers, obviously through 3, 4, 5, and obviously the 6, the blitz targets themselves. And then quickly having a little look, as you can see then. So what we've done so far is we've got
timers, man. How fucking cool is that?
Yeah, he's put timers on everything in the different worlds as well. So when you're starting. So the videos at the start, basically, as soon as we start producing them, or other people start producing good ones, then we'll also put those in as well. I'll be definitely doing some streaming because I'm off work now for the rest of this week.
I'm off work. I'm going to be streaming. I'm off work.
Hey, that's good. So. All right then. So I'll put some quality into my videos after to try and beat you.
Right. So basically, everyone watch Mark, no one watch Liam.
But basically, I'll be unpinning Mark's post and pinning mine. So.
I'll send mine straight to Andrew. They've got the page. So don't worry about it. Okay. So there we go. So anyway, so preview stuff is on there as well. So if you're really not sure what you've been looking at and that sort of stuff, but so it's all on there. Something there from Stu, something there from George. Obviously, there's a few demo stuff. So, yeah, Stu, you did do some work, actually, mate. You didn't just fall asleep.
I did some work. Go me.
So, some bits and bobs. But I want to see, actually, Robin use her fleet, because I haven't seen a decent set of those freaking monos actually doing anything yet. So, I have to try and
I will do one.
I have to encourage Robin to start making videos.
It would be. Do you know what would be great is if in the first couple of days of the raid, right? Because I know we've got a mixed panel. You know, there's a couple of people going down the generalist route. There's a couple of people on the icebreaker. There's a couple of people on the mono. It would be great if we all. In fact, we'll get this done. We'll all get a video up of each different style, and we'll get it into the website so people can reference it.
A better idea. Why don't we just all do one joint massive stream? Maybe
I can
even
set
off
up a
the
stream.
TFC.
I can set up a stream, maybe. Yeah, we can sort that out.
Just do it off the TFC channel, and we can all share our screens. You know, show what's going on and talk about what's going on, all that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Stay tuned. We'll get something organised.
That sounds good to me.
Right, we're done. We're done.
Okay, guys. Well, it's been a fabulous show. It's been absolutely amazing. And thank you everyone that's partaked in the show. You know, I don't know where Brian went. He kind of dropped out in the middle.
He had to hide that body that he had hidden in his bed.
Had to hide his meth.
That's what it was.
And his meth. Yeah. He had to hide his meth.
No, thanks everyone that's taken part in the show. Thank you everyone that's watched the show. We've had a large amount of viewers this evening, so thank you everyone that's watched the show. As always, the link will be up on YouTube and in the TFC, and Mark will be posting the slides once he's tweaked them slightly. They'll be up in the page as well. Obviously, we've got the open mic on Saturday, but no doubt there will be some streams going on for the raid. Everyone have a great raid. Don't fluster. Don't panic. You don't need to take all the flagships. Just take the one you need. And then you can catch up next raid, okay? So just don't
plan out your builds.
And if it goes wrong, PM George, it's all his fault.
Yeah, basically, anyone that needs build advice or anyone that's a bit unsure what to pick, what direction to go, George is basically doing live.
Oh my lord!
Live customer support. Yeah, he's doing Q&A and customer support for all TFC page members. So just drop him a PM, and I'll pin his profile up on the page. You can just chat to him. He does enjoy a good natter. So yeah, just PM him.
You have to call him by his code name, though. Obviously, won't answer. His code name's Squirrel. Right?
Yep. Is that a secret? Is that a secret?
Yep.
It was a secret, but now I've let it out. So everyone call him Squirrel from now on.
Right. Okay, guys. Squirrel. Well, then we will cut the show there. Good night, everybody, and good luck in the raid. Take care.
Good night.
Later.
Good night, everybody.